I hate being a mum, for real. Hi ladies, it's Abby McKenna here from Ready Set Mum. Now I have my camera turned this way outside of my house because if I turn my camera around at the moment and you saw the state of my house, you probably wouldn't be my friend. No, look, I'm coming today to do a video talking to you very sincerely about those moments where we just hate being a mum. And for some mums, it's not moments, it's everlasting. And there's a number of reasons why we've chosen to do this video. One is because motherhood doesn't have to be unenjoyable all the time, but for those women that feel like they're just in a cesspit of struggle and mess and despair and resentment, sometimes feels like it is going to last forever and they don't know where to turn. So during this video, I'm going to share with you some experience from other mums all over the world about the reasons why they can't stand being a mum, why they just don't find it enjoyable. But most importantly, I'm going to share some ways with you that you can start enjoying being a mum, if not at the very least, make it easier, but also to let you know that there is things that you can do to make being a mum more enjoyable. Some of us just feel so lost and so isolated and we feel like that feeling's never going to end. But there is some things that we can do, and I'm hoping that for some mums that have been feeling like this for a long time and they don't know where to turn, that you will recognize that you can do things and there is help out there, and this might be the little trigger for you to go and get the help that you need or do the work that you need to do to make this part of your life a little bit easier, because let's face it, it lasts for quite some time. So there's a number of things that can happen and that you can feel when you hate being a mum. For mums out there that don't understand what hating being a mum for a long period of time would feel like, imagine going to a job every day that you were meant to enjoy and just freaking hating it, and then feeling guilty that you hate it. Because most mums that don't like being a mum, and please know that for some mums, this is a thing. This is a very real thing and it lasts a long time. Sometimes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years. We can feel so lost and like we're absolutely drowning. And you know, all of the mums that contribute at Ready Set Mum, we're a tight group of women, and every single one of us has experienced times, and sometimes really lengthy times, where we just absolutely hate it. So we're really reaching out at the moment and letting you know that there is things that you can do and there is help out there, and sometimes it takes having a look at ourselves and working out what we need in order for that to happen. But it can be really damaging, it can be a really hard time for us, and not enjoying your children, not enjoying being a mum can wind up, let's be honest, being damaging for them, because some of the effects include things like resentment, which, you know, resentment, mum resentment, child resentment is a normal thing if it happens to you every now and then. I had it this morning. My kids are now out the door to school and I'm literally like, my life is better today because of that, because they were just hard work this morning. Like I said, you should see my house. It's just ridiculous. But it might be that you don't find your kids' childlike behaviors cute or funny anymore, and you feel angst when you have to be in their presence, when you have to be around them. You know, and look, we all go through times where we love our kids, but we don't necessarily like them. But for some mums, they struggle to feel like they love their kids, and this can be because of postnatal depression. And some of the lasting effects of this, if this happens for a long period of time, may result in us neglecting our children, not providing them with the well-being support that they need, with the nurturing that they need, with the emotional support that they need, and the physical support that they need. For some mums, it can also result in rejecting their children and also move on to different forms of abuse, such as emotional abuse, put-downs, and denigrating our children, and also physical abuse. So for some mums out there that are feeling like this is where they are going or this is what has happened, there are people that you can turn to, there are supports out there. But right now what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to share some stories from mums that all over the world that have really kindly shared with us why they hate being a mum, why they literally hate being a mum. And bear with us, because at the end of this video I'm going to share some really practical ways that you can utilize right now to either make mumming more enjoyable and at the very least, and we all want this, a little bit easier. The first one that mum shared a lot was false expectations. false expectations of themselves and the kind of parent they were going to be, false expectations of what mothering was going to look like and feel like, and false expectations of the kind of part that their partner would play. So really interestingly, a lot of mums, and we all feel like this, just went, I didn't realize it was going to be so hard. Just getting kids out the door in the morning for school was a hard feat. You know, I live in Bali now, so I don't have to put my kids in the car and I don't have to walk them to school, but what we do is we hop on a scooter. Right, when my partner comes, there's 4 of us on a scooter. Now, prior to my children, if I wanted to go somewhere, that wouldn't be a problem. I'd jump on my scooter or in my car and off I'd go. Very easy. If I was going to a barbecue, I can actually fit 13 beers in the little compartment seat of my scooter. Now I've got to do all this pre-planning and logistical planning, right? Like I am a logistics expert now. It takes up so much time and energy just to leave the house. You need spare nappies, you need spare clothes in case it rains or someone jumps in a puddle or someone spews or someone spills jam on themselves, okay? And we literally leave the scooter, we've got all of these things. But getting from here and to there, that's only a couple of meters. That would take me a decision that I'm going somewhere and 3 seconds later I'd be walking down my driveway to my scooter. To get my kids out that door, I'm lucky if I'm pre-prepared to get them out in half an hour. It's hard, and all of our energy is being expelled on someone else. There's someone else to consider now. You have to consider someone else's needs. You have to consider someone else's welfare. Then there's the mum regret and the constant, am I doing the right thing? Is this damaging to my kid? I wish I had have done this differently. And if you're having those regrets, check out our article on common mum regrets and how to fix them and how to alleviate them. It really is a super article. It's the bomb, right? It hits all the right places. And then there's the expectations of ourselves. You know, you look around and there's all these images of remarkable mums and they're clean and they're crisp and they're doing everything right. I actually do not know a real life mum that's like that. I am definitely not one of them, and I feel like I do a pretty good job, even though sometimes I want to throw my hands in the air and give it all up and go, I don't even actually think I was made out for this. And then there's the expectations that we have on our partner. You know, so many of us don't actually have a conversation about what parenting is going to look like, what parenting style we're going to take, what different roles we're going to do. Because some people just don't want to play certain roles in parenting. So those conversations are really important to be had. There is a number of women that really regret having children with the father or the other partner in the parenting team. And some of them just don't feel like it's a team. And when you have that, it can be really difficult and you can start resenting that situation because you feel like you're making all the sacrifices and you feel like you're wearing the brunt. And then sometimes there's a playoff competition about what should happen and who's the better parent and who's put more in. And then of course, if there's a relationship breakdown, that can make things even worse. There was a number of single mums that really resented having babies to their partner because of the toxicity and the pressure and the stress that the relationship was like when they were under the same household. But even sometimes when you leave that household, it can be really difficult. You know, I spent a lot of time putting energy just into supporting my girl's father to see them and play a part that I felt like he should play, but that wasn't necessarily the part that he felt like he should play, but we never had that conversation. And it was a really difficult time. And while we're on partners, some partners don't enjoy parenting either. And that can be really interesting because when you love someone or you don't love someone, whatever your situation is, and you're watching them break and you're watching them fall and you're having to pick up the pieces and having to do everything and you're trying to support them, but nothing is working. It may be that they have postnatal depression, because partners can also get postnatal depression. It can be a really, really difficult time when they don't feel like they're winning, when they just don't enjoy it and don't want to be a part of it. Postnatal depression is another instance where mum said, I just hated parenting. Postnatal depression means, well, results in sometimes not being able to bond with your child, sometimes not being able to feel like you love your child, and not having the energy or the desire to be able to fulfill their needs, and not being happy within yourself. So many mums that I've spoken to that experience postnatal depression just said, every day I would get up and I couldn't find the joy in anything, let alone in my children. But there is help out there for people with postnatal depression. And you know, the symptoms of postnatal depression is crying, feeling anxious, not eating properly, not getting enough sleep, not being happy. All right, that is just such a big one, not being happy. There's a real stigma out there about postnatal depression. It's about time we kick that in the ass. It's a real thing. We need to speak about it, and women, we need to stand together, and to rise individually, we rise together. Do not be afraid to stand up and say, I'm not okay and I need a little bit of help, because even mums without postnatal depression need a little bit of help sometimes, ladies. Outside stresses can be a huge influence in not enjoying motherhood. You think about it, when you're existing in a world and you've got children that you have to care for, that's not your whole job. You know, we become mums and sometimes that's what we identify with, and we feel like we've lost our identity. But then we've got work to consider, we've got friends to consider, we've got other family to consider. We've got stuff going on, there may be a death. It may be that you're in a conflict with someone. Financial pressure was a big one that came up. Not understanding how much a child was actually going to cost, and then having to change that mindset about money. And rather than being able to make purchases for yourself, going without them can sometimes be a really interesting and difficult transition, because you're putting away constantly to try and provide for a little person's future. And that can put strain on a relationship. That's the other thing. Babies put strain on a relationship. We've all heard of the term band-aid children, where someone has a child thinking that it was going to fix their relationship, but quite the opposite, because you no longer have the time and energy to put into that relationship. A number of women felt like they had toxic influences, toxic partners, toxic friends, toxic work colleagues that were taking up all of their space, all of their emotional and mental energy, which meant that they just couldn't enjoy being a mum. Ladies, I've seen it time and time again. My job before I started doing this and really found my passion was coaching people in mindset from all over the world. And women, we just allow shit people into our lives because we've watched our own mothers do it. We've watched our mothers be people pleasers, and then we turn into people pleasers ourselves, and we allow really cranky, trying not to swear, mediocre, average behavior from other people. Even though in our hearts and in our guts, our intuition is telling us, I'm not deserving of this. I'm better than this. You know, I'm constantly walking on eggshells. That feeling is horrible. But I'm doing everything I can to make that person happy, because when they're happy, my life seems smoother because I don't have to worry about them. Toxic people in your life can take up so much of your energy, and it can really take the time away from enjoying being a mum because you're constantly worried over here. We're going to talk about removing toxic people in your life a little bit later. And then there was a number of women who, they didn't really want to have a baby. Some of them thought that they did, but they didn't really. They did it to keep up with the times. You know, their friends were having them and they didn't want to be left behind. They felt like it was the right time. It was that natural progression. They'd gotten engaged, they'd gotten married, and the next step was then to have a baby. And then once it happened, they realized that it wasn't truly what they wanted, even though they thought that they wanted that. There was a number of women also that had a baby to make other people happy, whether it was their partner that really wanted them to have a baby, or their grandma, their nonna, their yaya, or their mum, or a lot of other people just saying, hey, come on, you're getting close to that time, body clock's ticking, you don't want to have to freeze those little eggs, it's time to have a baby. So they did it because other people felt like they should, and then they wound up realizing that it's not actually what they wanted. There was also a lot of women who felt like they had past life envy, or like they've missed out. So a lot of women had goals to travel, or they had career goals. And then when they had a baby, they felt like it was too hard to continue in that, or they felt guilty taking the time away from mothering their children to go and travel or to go after that career goal. Not the case, ladies. We're all entitled to live our dreams. We'll also talk about that a little bit later, but there was a number of people that felt like they missed out. And then there was past life envy, and this often comes up when you've got events with friends who don't have children anymore, because you see the freedom that they have, that they can make a decision on a whim, they can go do things and they don't have to consider anyone else. They never say no to a barbecue or a night out because their kids are sick. And you can actually use this to your advantage. Going to talk about that a little bit later. But sometimes, and I get this all the time, past life envy, something exciting comes up. I'm a music lover, right? Metallica is coming to Australia. Fleetwood Mac was there not long ago. I was a single mum. I couldn't find anyone to take care of my kids, and as a result, I couldn't go. And the past life envy was really real at that time. Really real. Really real. I wanted to be Stevie Nicks when I grew up. So what are some of the things that you can do to either start enjoying being a mum a little bit more or make mumming easier? Imagine that. I'm going to go into them just now. Ladies, the first one is get help. Put your hand up and reach out, especially if you feel like you have postnatal depression or you feel like maybe things are getting to a point where you can't nurture and support your children enough. This is nothing to be ashamed of. Put your hand up, get support. There's support out there. It means that the damage is going to be less to you and the damage is going to be less to your children. And that feeling of being lost and upset and isolated really doesn't have to last forever. There are doctors out there. There are counsellors out there. There's social welfare. There are so many different avenues that you can go down. Find one that works for you in order to alleviate this and get the help that you need. There is no judgment. There is no judgment. Every single one of us here at Ready Set Mum has put up our hand and asked for help at some time due to our situation and what we were feeling, and we're now giving you permission to do it as well. The next one is use your kids to your advantage. Right? Use your kids to your advantage. There's a couple of things that come into this. So your children can actually be the wake-up call that you need, especially if you were a woman who was unhappy with herself beforehand. And this was me. All of a sudden, I had this tiny little person that I had to really think about. And I realized that if I was going to continue people-pleasing, putting myself second, listening to other people, allowing toxicity into my life, not following my dreams, being miserable, guess what? My beautiful little Ayla, and then Indiana, when she came along, she was going to wind up as miserable as what I was. So in order for them to be awesome, I had to be awesome, which meant withdrawing, thinking about what I really wanted, putting myself first, and then taking action to do that. People say to me, you've changed. Yes, I have, absolutely, but that's not a bad thing. Okay, that is not a bad thing. Life is evolving. There's lots of variables. We're entitled to change. We're entitled to be happy, and we're entitled to go after our dreams. But also, apart from your kids being the kick up the bum that you might have been looking for, that you haven't been able to do up until now, your kids can be used as excuses. Okay? Your kids can be used as excuses. Go into your workplace and negotiate having a day at home a week so you can work with your kids at home and you can have some more time with them if your job duties and tasks allow for that. Also, if there's a barbecue, if there's a work party, if there's a dinner party, if there's a get-together or something that you don't want to go to, you've got kids, you don't have to go. If they're too tired, if you just want to spend some time with them, and a lot of us feel really torn about going to this thing or spending time with kids. If you feel like spending time with kids is what you want to do, then absolutely do it. Also, my kids are sick. Sorry, I can't come. No one's going to question that, ever. The next one, ladies, is conserve your brain space. Conserve your decision-making quota. Right, how many of you get to Tuesday or Wednesday and your brain just farts and you're exhausted, or you're exhausted all the time? It may be that you are using your decision-making quota. Your brain, your mind, has a decision-making quota. It's actually only capable of making a certain amount of decisions every day, every week, and so on. This is the reason why Barack Obama chose to wear the same suit every day in office. It was because he had some really big decisions to make and he didn't want to waste his decision-making quota on the little ones, like what colour tie to wear. You can utilise this into your everyday life. I learned this from one of the biggest peak performance professionals in Australia, and when I started utilising these things, it literally changed my life. I had energy, I was able to think. It was absolutely amazing. Now, in our article, we have literally nutted these out for you step by step, how you do these things. So make sure you go and have a look. But the first one is Work out what you and your kids are going to wear for 7 days straight on a Sunday. It's all lined out. That's one decision less that you have to make. If you've got older kids that are able to make their own decisions, let them choose what they're going to wear. And if they want to wear 2 different shoes, a tutu, a ripped shirt and a punk helmet, let them. It's their 21st, not yours. The second one is just put a shopping list on the fridge, and every single time you run out of something, write it down. So when you go to the shop, you don't have to remember. Literally, that's about 200 decisions less that you're making right there. And pre-planning your food so that you know what you're going to have for a month in advance or a week in advance. How hard is it sometimes to come home after work when we're tired, when we've been out, and decide what we're going to feed our family? Already have it in there. Do your shopping earlier. Online shopping, click and collect. Or click and deliver groceries. Perfect, okay? Conserve your time. Get smart. Cook in advance. Whenever I cook stews or curries, it was one of the best investments ever. I went and got myself a massive stock pot, like what my grandma used to cook tomato sauce in, and I will make a week's worth of meals and shove it in my freezer. It is so good. The next thing you can do, ladies, is some planning, some family planning. Now, once again, check out our article. We've got step-by-steps there for you. But have you actually sat down with your partner and worked out what you enjoy doing, what you don't enjoy doing, the roles that you're going to do together, what kind of parenting styles that you want to utilize? You know, who's got this strength that's going to help when they're teenagers and they're running amok? Who's got this strength that's going to help when there's an issue at school? Actually discuss with your partner what that looks like and start planning as a family together. Often the conversations resolve around money and what's happening right now. We can never look into the future, and that can leave you just feeling so vulnerable and so lost and so tired. I used to put all of our bills on I had a table as you walk through the door. So I would constantly see those bills, which meant every time I walked in, the first conversation I had with my partner was about money struggles. And as I walked out the door, if he was with me, that's what I was talking about, but it's also what I was thinking about. Put it away, deal with it once or twice a week, but sit down and give yourself time and energy to think about, how do you feel right now? What do you want to feel? What are some of your goals for yourself and for your family? What is your 5-year plan? Another big one in this is looking at the kind of people that you want to allow in your life and the kind of people that you don't. My business partner and dear friend did a vlog on this for his 30th birthday, and I thought, oh my God, this is something that everyone should do. My family did it. Once again, it changed my life. We mapped out the kind of qualities in people that we didn't want to be around for us and our children, and we mapped out the kind of qualities that we did want to allow in our lives for us and our children. That is such a basic thing now, and all we have to do is come back and look at our 5-year plan and our top qualities of people, and if our actions or our decisions don't fit that, then we don't do it. It's a basic, it's a guideline, it's a foundation. We come back to it and it has changed our lives. We only have positivity around us now. And I used to be a pretty bloody negative person. I will be really honest with you. I was miserable a few years ago. And in that, we also mapped out our family values. This made parenting so easy. We came up with 5 different values that we wanted to live by, that we wanted to instill in our family, and how we go about doing them. It's exactly the same thing. When things get a little bit rough, we turn around and go, right, what mindset do we need? What kind of actions do we need to make sure we're living by our family values? It has been absolutely gold. Budget. Guys, financial education. If there's another thing you can do for yourself, it's budget. It's budget. It's become educated about finances. I grew up in a world where I went to work, I got paid, my tax came out, I paid my bills, I sent my stuff to the tax officer, and I didn't know how to manage my money properly. I started buying houses just because that's what you were expected to do, so on and so forth. And I wasn't getting anywhere quickly. I didn't realize that I could make money work for me rather than the other way around. So becoming financially educated, we have a couple of books that you can look at to read to help clean up your finances, but also think smarter about your finances, but also doing a budget. It can be a horrible space when you're not sure where money's going. So having a budget there, knowing what's coming in, knowing what's going out, so that you're not overspending and creating stress in your life, but also being able to see where there might be some gaps and things that you can change. Call your mortgage broker or your bank and ask for a smaller interest rate. How many of you have actually asked for that? Or insurance on your car? You never know. They might say yes. I did it and it got knocked off by like 1.5%, which means that I was saving, you know, about $100 a month. And then ladies, take time to grow in yourself. This comes back to possess and pass. Whatever you possess, you're gonna pass on to your children. Even if you feel like you don't like them very much. Okay, even if you don't feel like you don't like them very much, it's okay to want to grow with yourself, and it's okay to want to take self-care. Self-care is the most selfless thing that you can do for your family. If you're not okay, you don't have the energy for them to be okay. If you're not okay, you're just not okay. So take time for yourself every now and then. Go on that date night with your partner. That is not a luxury. That is an absolute necessity. It can save your relationship and it can make life a lot easier. But sometimes you need to put yourself first, and we are giving you permission to do that. Okay, mamas, there you have it. Some of the reasons why people hate being a mum, and some things that you can do and you can actually do right now to either start enjoying being a mum or make mumming a little bit easier. Make sure you head back to the article, because we have listed the things that you can do here and the suggestions with step-by-steps, referrals to books, and it's all things that we have done to make our life easier, lift ourselves up and start enjoying mumming a little bit more. Now, once again, ladies, for those of you that feel like you're needing a little bit of help, put your hand up. It's absolutely okay. Make sure you give this video a like and share it out to your mum friends that might need it. Love having you here. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you back really soon at Ready Set Mum.